Well, welcome. Thank you very much for coming to see my presentation today. This is my favourite subject to talk about. I love the sector I work in. I love the independent schools market in the UK. If it helps to know, I went to a school like the schools you'll be looking at today for 15 years, and it was the best 15 years of my life. So 40 years ago, when my parents chose a school for me, it was very limited in terms of information that they looked at to choose a school. They used friends and family members to choose a school for me. Also, I was a boarder at the school, so I lived at the school too overnight throughout the school years. So I understand how difficult it is to send your child away to a school in the United Kingdom and not see them for weeks and weeks, because as a child myself, I was a boarder. The number one thing you need to think about is what is the best way of choosing and looking at for my child. Not thinking about just your friends and family, but what is best for my child and their abilities. So, first thing to think about is, do you want to send your child to a school with boys and girls, or do you want to send your child to a school which is just boys and just girls? I can't tell you what is best. It really depends on your child and what they want in terms of education. Are they shy? So would both boys and girls be good? Or are they very independent? So maybe just boys or just girls. Secondly, very important to consider is, do you want them to send them to a purely academic school where testing and exams are key, or do you want to send them to a school with both academic strength and extracurricular strength so they become well-rounded individuals later in life? Next, do you want a big school with lots and lots of children, or do you want a small school where your child, who may be quite shy, can shine in a smaller environment? Do you want to look for a school which has a specific international school within the school for intensive English learning with the opportunity for main school support following, or do you just want them to go and be educated in a purely international centre? And the age group of the school. There are schools in the UK that educate children from age 2 to 18. There are schools that educate children from 7 to 18 or from 13 to 18. So do you want the all education school or a senior school? It's very important to consider the needs of your child. Do they want a very caring environment because they're shy? Or are you wanting an environment because they are very independent, when they can go off and be an independent, focused person at school with academics or extracurricular? So as you can see, there are lots and lots of things to consider when it comes to schooling in the UK. It doesn't stop there. It's really important to consider, what does your child, or what do you want for your child after their education, and what course is best? So, do they want to come back home to the Ukraine to study? Do they want to stay in the UK and go to a UK university? And do they want to go elsewhere, like to America, Canada, France, Australia, other countries for university education? So you have two main choices. You have, for instance, the International Baccalaureate at sixth form, or you have an A-level choice at sixth form, and these two courses decide your end destination. Next, location in the UK or in another country. Where should they study? Do you want them to study in the countryside, away from the cities? Lots of parents fear the safety of cities and would prefer their child to be integrated into the countryside. Then there is the city. A lot of parents prefer this option because it's a fast-paced, moving place to study, which replicates the global world that we live in. And then you've got the north of the country, of the UK, or south of the UK. Do you want to be near Heathrow Airport or Manchester Airport? And then you need to consider where the guardian who will look after your child's needs whilst they're in the UK is based. So if they're based in York, you might want to consider a school in the north of the country. This is a very important next slide. Do you use an agent? Or as parents, do you do your own work as regards finding a school? Question to you parents, do you know how many schools there are in the United Kingdom? That's its independent schools. So we have 2,500 independent schools in the United Kingdom. Who has time to look at every school's website here? No. Impossible. This is why agents are very useful. Agents like BusinessLink are very useful for helping parents find the right school for their child. So that's the thing. They have a wealth of knowledge, agents do, and can give you a variety of schools based on the requirements and needs in the first slide I showed you. Many have been operating for years and know this sector very, very well and can give you excellent advice. And many of them have visited our schools as well. But you can go it alone. You can do your research. The websites out there makes it very, very easy. But I said if you have the time to do that, great. But there are a lot of schools out there for you to choose from. Next thing, nothing beats you actually visiting the school where possible, to actually get a feel for the school that you're going to place your child thousands of miles away. My question to you, would you buy a car without test driving it yet? And that is why it's best to visit. Whilst I think my school is the best in the United Kingdom, and I would say that, I always say to parents, visit 2 or 3 schools, because you have to compare the schools for your child. Much as my school would love to have your children, it is really important to have a variety of schools, because you are making the most important investment in your life, that is your child's education. You arrive at the school. What do you look for when you're visiting? Is the welcome warm? Is the school expecting you? Do you get a chance to have a few minutes to relax and talk about your child and what they're looking for in the school when you arrive, especially if you've just had a long journey? Next, do you meet the key staff in the school? So it's really important you meet the boarding staff. That is the staff that will look after your child's needs when they stay overnight at the school night after night. Do you meet the head of sixth form, for instance, if your child is looking at sixth form? Sixth form is very important education. Do you meet that person, or the coordinator of the International Baccalaureate? Do you meet the head, the person that is the top in the school? And finally, do you actually meet and interact with the admissions staff who have been dealing with you, or the agent? Most importantly, have you met some pupils away from staff, so you're able to ask the difficult questions of pupils? Have you tried the food? Is there a good choice of food? Are there healthy options? We know this is important for mothers. Have you seen all the facilities that are relevant to your child, especially the boarding house that they would live in? And most importantly, do you know what the next steps are in the admissions process for your child? And have you had the chance to ask questions that arise from your visit before you leave? Next, what does your child think about the school? We understand that parents are paying for the school. However, it is your child that has to go through the experience day after day after day. So really do ask your child what they think about the school, because they have to go through 6 hugely important things. They have to go into a new environment, a new climate in terms of weather. They have to make new friends. They have to speak a new language all the time. They have to get used to a new country and culture that likes lamb with mint sauce, for instance. And they have to get used to new teachers and adults. Most importantly, they have to get used to being away from you as the dads and mums. So next thing is the follow-up. So again, we know you're about to spend a lot of money. So has the admissions staff made the effort to follow up via your agent or directly with you to see if you have any outstanding questions from the visit? Have they asked you how you felt about the school and your visit? Importantly, do the admissions staff ensure that your questions are responded to in a timely or efficient manner and organise an offer immediately once you indicate you'd like to proceed with a place? Do you receive enough information throughout the process to feel that all your concerns and queries are answered? When I am in my personal life, I am very, very hot on customer service. Customer service and looking after people who are about to spend a lot of money is very important, and schools should do that for you. So welcome information and arrival at the school when you finally made your decision. Does the school provide information for welcome and arrival at the school? So check the website for welcome information or ask your agent to send you something. Do the school provide the opportunity for you as parents, if you've not been able to visit, to tour the school, enjoy a few hours with your child before you have to say goodbye? Do they provide you with a 2 to 3 week report on your child as a new pupil? So your child's left you. You need to know how they're doing. Are they giving you that information? A few other things to consider. First, the visa. This is not that terrifying, I promise. Many schools now have companies that organise the visa for you in conjunction with the agent. They can ensure a 100% success rate on your visa. Guardians. Most schools in the United Kingdom require all international pupils to have a guardian that resides in the United Kingdom. You may think, if they're in the UK for just a term or a year, that this is not necessary. However, we require someone just to be there in case of emergency, so they can come and help and look after your child if necessary, or for instance if their flight is delayed and they need to spend somewhere overnight because they can't go back to the school. Schools can provide you with a list of guardians for your agents if you don't have a family, friend or a member of the family in the United Kingdom. Half terms and holidays. Generally, schools require pupils to leave with all of their belongings during these holidays. Homesickness. We do have children who get a little bit homesickness and really do miss home. What we say to parents is give it 3 to 4 weeks to ensure that they settle in. A lot of schools run summer schools, so this could be a really good help as a taster, 1 or 2 week taster, to see how they are away from home. So, you're shown the fees. You think, oh, like that. There are a few other extra costs that schools may not mention that I will let you know to be aware of. Transfer costs. Most schools will pick up your children from the airport at the before and after holidays. The cost of this depends on the number of children being picked up at the same time. International trips. A lot of schools want to encourage a well-rounded individual, so schools may encourage pupils to try out international trips for learning. These are voluntary, but they do incur a cost. All schools that I know of have a school uniform and a sports kit. These incur extra costs. There is a registration fee to register your interest. This fee is a non-refundable fee to cover the cost of the administration. There's usually a deposit when you accept a place at the school that you have to pay. That can be anything from £1,000 to £10,000, depending on the school. You will get that money back. It's usually used for the last term's fees, or it is then used to cover any extras that may incur whilst your child is at your school. And that is it. Thank you for listening.
Меня интересует вопрос по Guardians, да, потому что очень странно для меня вот то, что я услышала, что нужно все-таки выбирать школу с привязкой к guardians, а не наоборот, guardians с привязкой к школе, да?
Yes, indeed, but a lot of schools in the United Kingdom require a guardian to be within 2 hours' drive of the school, which can be quite hard. We don't require a 2-hour drive, we require a guardian to get to the school that same day.
Who are those guardians? So where they come from, or is it like just ex-pupils and etc.?
No, there's a company or an organisation in the United Kingdom called the Association for Education and Guardians and Independent Schools, AEGIS it's called. You can find top quality guardians all over the United Kingdom, and we have some of those on our books.
Do they pay them, or are there extra costs?
It is an extra cost for a guardian.
So you haven't mentioned this.
It's an extra cost which we don't take. It's the guardians that take basically the cost.
What the usual rates for guardians?
It depends on the level that you need. So guardian costs per term can start at £150 all the way up to £4,000 or £5,000 a term, depending on what you require them to do.
So, for example, there is 1 week of vacation, yes?
Yes, that would be a large cost.
For example?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know because we
100,
do not.
200,
We're not allowed actually to give you. We're not allowed to preferentially treat guardians. We do not ask them about their costs because that is your agreement with you and the guardian.
Because yes, it's quite difficult because, for example, I have twins, yes?
Yes.
And to leave college for 1 week vacation,
Yeah.
find a guardian, and
Yeah.
it just could be really enormous sum.
It could be, absolutely. Yeah.
So before entering school, before making exams, yes, it's better to look and to meet some guardians, yes, and to ask for
their
their
costs,
rates.
yes.
The costs.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Most boarding schools have on-site medical facilities run by a doctor and or nurse, so they have the right people there all the time to look after your child. So what would happen is, let's say we have had this, 2 a.m. in the morning, child is violently sick everywhere. They would go to the house parent who lives in the boarding house and say, I've been ill, and the house parent would call the doctor and the nurse. Generally, you may have to take out, it depends which country you're from. So for instance, for Europe, you should have an EHIC card, which should cover you for free medical care in the United Kingdom for your child. If you don't, there is an additional cost for that, unfortunately. But if you are generally in the European Union, then you have an EHIC card.
У меня вопрос такой, по религии. У меня у дочки одноклассник в этом году начал обучение в Оксфорде в школе. Какая у него, скажем, случилась проблема? То, что каждые выходные обязательно нужно идти в церковь, ну, скажем, читать молитвы, а если от этого отказываешься, то в наказании сидишь там по 2 часа и выучиваешь эти молитвы. То есть ребенок хочет, чтобы его перевели с этой школы. Как мне объяснили, очень многие школы, ну, скажем так, религиозны. Можно ли на начальном этапе узнать, ну, скажем, хотим мы или не хотим?
Well, the admission staff within the school, if you ask, you should ask that specific question when you are in the admissions process. So the school should be truthful and tell you how that works. Generally, in the UK at the moment, religion is a big issue. And the laws state you can't force people to go to church or do those things, but schools have different ethoses and beliefs that when you sign up to that school, and it's in the contract, you sign up to what the school provides, religious-wise.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about, for example, can a child spend her free time, holidays also with her relatives, because she has relatives?
Absolutely, yes. Yes. If you have a friend or a relative that you want to be a guardian, that saves you money, so do that. For schools like Rossall, we just expect that person to be over 25.
Okay, thank you.
Если ребенок в летней школе, да, там месяц, 4 недели, у нее есть среди недели один выходной день, когда она себе посвящает. Может ли или опекун, или сестра, или родственник приехать, если у него есть соответствующий там договор, или забрать племянника, племянницу, родственника к себе на этот один день, ну, со школы. Да, да.
Absolutely.